earnings, and you need to put it aside, and you need to keep it separate from your current account. So there's no way you're going to be having retained earnings sitting in your standard everyday business account. It needs to be a separate account that you grow over a period of time, and you grow it out of your profits. No, do not take any money, do not divert money that was supposed to go into the business for one reason or another. It is the money at the end when you do net profit, you're holding in your hand and you yield it back into the business. And it will stand for you when you are in this point where we don't know where cash flows are going to come from or how you're going to pay your fixed costs in a while. So that brings me to the end of today's talk, discussion. And now I'll open it up for discussions and questions.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Titianne. That is really awesome. And I hope it's really been useful and quite relevant to the rest of us. At least you've been able to really take us through the end-to-end tips on how to navigate or survive this pandemic. So I would like to, at this point, to open up to any questions. I think there are already 2 questions already.
Okay, Ben, please help me. I think I can't figure out where the questions are. So maybe tell me what the questions are.
Okay, so there is, thank you, Tami Bagaya. Titianne talked about sectors that will be affected. What about sectors that will thrive?
Okay, so that's a good question. I think from where I sit, I think the sector that will thrive the most is the technology sector, whether we're talking about telcos for mobile phones, or we're talking about internet, or we're talking about Zoom calls as we are doing today. That's the sector that stands to benefit most because now we are starting to understand different ways. So whether you're in school, whether you're in, working in an office, the telecommunications becomes the heartbeat of the world, not only the nation, of the world. It has connected people globally. So there are sectors such as telecommunications and online businesses that I think will really thrive from COVID. I am passionate about agriculture, so I also think agriculture as a sector holds a lot of promise because it's about time we start inwardly. We've been looking out for help on issues like agriculture, and I think now with the challenges, we'll start asking ourselves, wait a minute, why are we buying seeds from Israel? Can't we make our own seeds? I see opportunities for industry. Sometimes some of the raw materials we're importing, we can do it ourselves. So there are opportunities, I can say almost in every sector. It depends on how we decide to look at COVID, but I see the economy is opening up, and I'm very excited, particularly about Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. There's another question. Do you have any tips for starting a consulting business?
I think, yes. I'll tell you because I have a consulting business, and I think the number one thing when you're thinking of starting I'm assuming this is a fresh startup, is a consulting business, is that you need to be clear on what you're offering for consulting. What is it you're consulting in? Once you're clear about what you're consulting in, then you need to be very clear of who wants that service. Once you're clear about who wants that service, you need to be clear that they're willing to pay for that service. I'll give you an example of myself. When I started out from a consulting firm, I was working in the development sector, and I knew there are issues around helping agriculture entrepreneurs think through their businesses. But when I reached out, so I was clear about what I want to do, and I even knew who I need to reach out to. The challenge became when I reached out to them, the development world does that for them for free. Every enterprise in agriculture, any enterprise that is in a social impact space, have such access to grants. They have so much access to money. They have access to technical services for free. So yes, I had a good product. I had a good value proposition, but my target market was not willing to pay for the product. So you have to be clear that what look like. So I don't think I have any bias towards the legal industry or whether I find them extremely threatened by COVID. I think it was just that the game plan and how they operate their business and how they manage their cash flow is a bit different from how a standard business operates its cash flow. And so because of the mismatch between cash inflows and cash outflows, they felt strained. It was an exposed industry, and maybe that's why we are seeing them being taking the shocks that they're taking. But otherwise, I don't think there's any bias towards that industry.
Good. Thank you. Titianne, on the retained earnings, do you have a recommendation on maybe a percentage or some ratio on what should be kept as retained earnings?
Okay, the safest way to think through retained earnings is to look at your monthly expenses, and that is the total of your fixed costs and your variable costs. Once you have a monthly indication, and sometimes, as I said, because the variable costs fluctuate, look back 3 months, look back about 3 to 4 months, and then work out an average. The average is the average of your expenditure in a month, assuming you're not making any sales, but you are having expenses. The average of 3 months expenses will give you a feel of your 1 month of expense. And then the ratio is not really a ratio, but what you do is you work with a worst case scenario that in 4 months you won't have business, in 4 months you'll not be making sales, or if you make sales, you'll not be paid. So save an equivalent of 4 times at least into your retained earning accounts. 4 times your monthly expenses, monthly being fixed and variable expenses.
Thank you. There's another question. Will the tourism sector be affected or thrive post-COVID? How can we as travel agents plan to get back to business post-COVID?
Okay. I think it will be, one of the things we predict is that the industry will be affected. But let me say this way, it depends on how we are defining our tourism sector. The tourism sector from the international markets will definitely be affected because we are going into an era we are not sure about flying around and how many people will want to be flying to start with. Just even being in an airport and being in an aeroplane will be a new scenario. If you are based in Kenya and you have a travel agency, you start looking at domestic tourism and start thinking of domestic tourism as your plan B. As you said, it's time to pull in plan B. The good thing with domestic tourism, especially when we'll be done with, for example, our curfews and the lockdown, and let's hope that's in the near future. When people can move around, I think tourism will thrive because people are now fed up of seeing their houses and seeing their four walls, and they'll be looking for places to go. So as you sit now and you're thinking of COVID and post-COVID, it's trying to look what are the deals you as a travel agent can start having aligned for people who want to have post-COVID parties, post-COVID tourism for the family, where the places they can go with children. And then on the other end, what kind of assurances are they having? What kind of stopgap measures have the hotels or the industries taken for COVID? So what assurance are they giving that there'll be no spread? How have they taken their hygiene levels high so that as you're promoting them, there's a partnership already agreed upon on the back end. So I see a bit of opportunity. I see a bit of a challenge for international tourism, but I see a lot of opportunity on domestic tourism because after this, I can say I know people will want just to be traveling and taking their weekends out of town, and in there is a beautiful opportunity.
Thank you. I don't know whether there's any other question or any comment. We can unmute any participant who wants to jump in. I think there's a question that has come, Sheila. Which platforms for agribusiness would you recommend, Titianne?
Platforms, I'm not sure the question is clear. What do you mean platforms for agribusiness?
Just basically, say for example, like to avoid working with middlemen, you know, the way they, you know, you end up losing so much money as a farmer.
Yeah.
So are there platforms you would recommend that maybe support people in agribusiness in terms of connecting with the market?
Oh yes, there are actually a number of platforms, and right now I can't remember them off the top of my head. Sheila, let me get back to you. I think I'll do that through Ben,
Thank
I
you.
can send you a list of online platforms where you can be able to sell. But one of the things also you can explore, Sheila, is look for a partnership with any donor-related agriculture program. Most of them have a market focus for agriculture, and they can help you with marketing partnerships. So one of the things I'll also do is link you with somebody in one of the programs who can help with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good, thank you. I don't know whether there's anyone else, any of the participants who can actually unmute yourself and just ask the question. Meanwhile, what I'll do, I'll actually put on the screen who we are as at the IELTS group and how you can contact us, so that if, should you have any opportunity for partnership, we can always connect. Any question from participants? Any question from participants? Oliver, if you can kindly allow me to share my screen. Yeah, meanwhile, Titianne, I think they've been very, this has been received so well.
Oh, thank you, Ben.
Very positive compliments on the presentation, very eye-opening. And at least, and also, you know, the way you really, an authority, so to speak, you know, in So, I don't know, any comments from the participants? You can unmute yourself, or you can unmute you, and then
Ben, I think Titianne has to stop sharing her screen so that you may share yours.
Okay, I'm still on sharing screen. Sorry. See, I'm talking about digitizing and all that, and I didn't even know my screen is. Okay, give me a minute. Okay.
Evans, thanks for the comment. Oh, great.
Okay.
Yes. So what I'll do, let me just, Oliver, I'm still disabled. I don't know, even after Titianne removed her screen. Oliver, do you have to make me a co-host or something so that I can share?
Yeah, I already
okay, finally. This is fine now. Okay, so even as you think about maybe any other comments, any other questions, just to talk very briefly about the IELTS group. I hope this is coming on your screens. I don't know whether it's good. So very briefly, I wanted just to share what, about ourselves, the IELTS group. So we're actually an HR consulting firm. We are based out of Westlands in Nairobi, and we do a number of consulting work spaces in terms of end-to-end HR processes, training as well. So even as a startup, as an entrepreneur, and you have, you know, the opportunities that we can actually partner together, we can actually work through, even at this time, you know, when you talk about organization redesign, looking about the new skills assessment and development, how can we start building in that space? Also, the organization readiness. You know, how is your organization ready? We can actually do some bit of an audit just to help you understand what the areas that you need to start looking at, that you need to start paying a lot of attention and start preparing, post-COVID. A review of the HR plans and strategies. Definitely, this pandemic has actually affected big time, a number of the policies that probably you have in place. How are you going to position them to really be aligned with the new realities? How are your HR plans in terms of the talent, in terms of attraction, in terms of retention, and even people development. So we can actually look at all that around also e-training and learning. What are those opportunities? Even as we work from home, as we work virtually, how can we try and enable also the business to continue at this time? And also looking at the digital platforms for your staff to meet, for your boss to meet, and that kind of thing. So you can always reach us. Kindly drop us an email at info@ilesgroup.co.ke, or you can call us at that number on the screen. So we can also share this video because we've recorded. If you can let us know your email addresses, we can always reach out back to you, and we can engage. Others, we're really grateful. We are still putting together a number of other topics that we feel are really relevant and will be appropriate at this time. So please stay tuned. We'll be posting in the social media, in our LinkedIn platforms for you to reach out and be part of that discussion. Others, we're really, really grateful. I don't know whether there's any other comment. Any comment? Good. Otherwise, I think to that end, and once again, Titianne, I want to say thank you so much. We're really, really grateful for your time and to be able to really come on board and take us through this very critical topic of business sustainability, so to speak, and really sharing your thoughts, sharing a number of these tools and things that as a business, even as a small business, we actually need to be very, very aware about, so that we stay on top of things even beyond the pandemic. We're really grateful for everyone who managed to join in, and we really look forward to partnering with you, to working with you, and even to participating in more of these discussions going forward. We'll likely be having another one again next week. We've actually had two discussions previously, the last 2 weeks. So we are also lining up quite a number of them in the coming weeks. So again, thank you. Titianne, any last words before we...
No, Ben, I just wanted to appreciate the ISIL group for the opportunity to just be here and share with everybody who tuned into the call, and also to appreciate everyone who took time to just sit and think through this session and listen to the discussion. And as we continue chanting the unknown waters, I think we just need to be what can I say, conscious about the decisions we are making in business, and we'll survive it. So we'll see you in survival mode and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Oliver, anything?
I also like to thank Titianne for the educative session. It has been enlightening, I hope, for myself and everyone else. So in case I'm seeing on the chat there are those who require the recordings for the presentation, you may reach out to us at info@ilesgroup.co.ke, so that we may get in touch and you may be sent for the recording. That's all.
Thank you so much. I don't know whether it will be okay if you can, as we leave, and you can unmute yourself and just shout your name and where you are dialing in for.
My name's Margaret from Ukunda.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, Margaret.
Yeah, that's good.
Millicent Olunga from Kabete.
Hey, hi, Millicent.
Hi,
How are you?
Millicent.
Hi. Good to see you. That was nice.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks,
Millicent, for
Millicent.
joining.
Ben Katet from Kericho.
Oh, thank you, Ben. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining.
Ben.
Thank you so much.
Happy Mutinda from Buruburu, Nairobi.
Oh, thank you, Catherine Mutinda,
That
CK.
was awesome.
Thank
That
you,
was
Catherine.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yvonne Mwende from Nairobi, Kileleshwa.
Oh, thank you, Miss Yvonne
Thank you,
Mwende. Much appreciated.
Evans Odhiambo from Nairobi.
Wow.
Thanks.
Evans, long time. Nice to thank you.
Nice to hear from you, Ivan.
Yeah.
Stephanie Odhiambo from Nairobi.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you so much.
Sheila CLA from London.
Wow.
Wow.
Sheila, thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Sheila.
Thank you. Such an informative session. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Bin Maraga from Nairobi.
Mr. Maraga, Asante.
Steve Otina from Mombasa.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
Helen Kitili from Mombasa.
Oh, Helen, thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Thanks, Helen.
Welcome. Welcome.
Donald Bet from Nairobi.
Oh, thank you, Donald. Thank you.
Adelaide Bagai from Kiambu.
Thank you, Adelaide from Kiambu.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I think on that note, we really want to say thank you again, everyone for joining. We are really grateful. Enjoy your evening and take care. Let's comply with the Ministry of Health guidelines. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I think we can actually start leaving.